World.
But next, how to handle an awkward conversation, what to say, how to say it, and why sparing someone's feelings could be a recipe for trouble.
Whether it's breaking up with someone or telling a potential employee they didn't get the job, it's safe to say most of us have had an awkward conversation or two.
Well, today we're revealing how to make those awkward conversations less awkward, arming you with the simple strategies to speak easy.
Here with all the awkwardness is author Georgia Murch. Great to speak to you this afternoon.
Thanks for the introduction.
Georgia, you say the first things that we should do before we open our mouths is we need to prepare our content and our intent. What do you mean by that?
So I have this saying that people hear your content, yet they smell your intent. So content is all around the words. So what are the facts, what are the examples, and what opinions have we got wrapped around those? So they're kind of easy to prepare. But the thing is, whenever you deliver any of that, we actually smell where you're coming from. So even though you might be really elegant in your prose, if you're there to assassinate rather than educate, we're actually going to know what's behind that. And so you've got to marry the two in order for a conversation to be easily heard and easily received.
But isn't it a good idea to try and sugarcoat something so it's not as brutal for the other person?
Yeah, so sugarcoating, or what we'll call cleverly feedback sandwiches, if you like. So we start with something lovely, in the middle we whack the real content, and then like, awesome, thanks for having me, guys. The set's a bit off, but it's fantastic, great conversation. So something like that, you walk away, no, I didn't mean it, was just for show. So, but something like that, you kind of walk away going, what do I take from there? Do I take the good? Do I take the stuff in the middle? And what actually happens is, what we've now learnt is that it actually ends up creating disrespect, which is the very thing that people didn't want to do in the first place.
Why? Because you didn't understand what the message was? The good and the bad was lost?
Yeah, so one, we didn't understand which is the bit that we hang on to, which is the gold in there, but we also get, that intent bit again. We go, where are they coming from?
Yeah. So you could walk out going, I wonder if I got the job. Did I get the job?
Yeah,
I got the job.
Always.
Yeah. Hey, Georgia, so many people put their foot on it too in social media nowadays too. What are the rules around social media and what you put on there?
Yeah, I think it's I think about social media a lot, because it's almost like we get courage under keyboard, so I can kind of say what I want, and a lot of the time it's actually damaging, it's demeaning. And how ironic is it that in schools we're educating kids around cyberbullying, and as parents we're like, yes, fantastic, got to do it. Yet we as adults forget that all of a sudden when we see someone having an opinion that we differ on, rather than going through a healthy debate, we actually start making it really personal.
Can't you all just fix it with a smiley face emoji at the end though?
What do you think? Yeah.
All right, say we do upset somebody through a conversation or one of these situations. How can you soothe a bruised ego or say sorry?
Well, there you go. There's a start, but we're not all good at that.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. That sounded like Tom.
Yeah, hashtag. I think the thing with bruised egos is that we can take responsibility for the role that we play in the content, but we can't actually help them through where they're at emotionally. That's the work that they've got to do. But typically when people do have bruised egos, it's, that they're not really good at receiving feedback in the first place, and they're not very good at feeling seen. So, there's really simple things, like just stay curious and ask questions and understand where they're coming from, because a lot of time if people feel like you're in it together, it actually gets you to the next phase where they can start moving forward.
Yeah. Georgia, one of the things that you say is that we've got to be aware of our own triggers. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we've got things that hold us back from staying in safe conversations, so where we've all heard about fight or flight reactions. So what we've got to be aware of when we go into difficult conversations, and all of us have it everywhere, is that we have triggers that hold us back from finding the gold in the conversation. So things that irritate us. So there's typically 4 triggers. Like one, for example, might be the relationship, just the very nature of who you are. As soon as you come up on the phone, I'm like, oh, God, here we go. So I'm already not receiving, I'm not open. And there's other ones as well.
So what if the person that you're talking to comes in really hot, they're aggressive? Like, how do you counter that and deal with that?
It's almost like people who are aggressive in that fight response, actually, if you give them fuel, they'll keep going. So the worst thing you can actually do is actually meet them at where they're at. It's almost like putting your fingers in the spokes of a moving wheel. It's just dangerous. So our role in when we've got those kind of characters is not only don't get triggered off, stay calm yourself, but again, get curious and actually try and slow the conversation down, because eventually they either neck themselves, in a psychological way that they really struggle. Oh gosh, I can see what I've done, and I feel really disappointed about that. But you want to get to them a stage where they can actually think clearly again.
All right. Thanks, Georgia. Good chat.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
your time. For more, you can pick up a copy of Georgia's book. It is called Feedback Flow. Up next, Meghan Markle's rise.